Hello everyone! Today we will delve into a gruesome murder case. The perpetrator not only killed entire families in one night, but also decapitated a woman and threw her head into a ditch. What kind of deep hatred drove him to commit such a mad act? The story takes place in a village in the northwestern mountains. That morning, Mr. Zhang, who is over 70 years old, was taking his plow to the field. When he passed by the house of Jiang, a villager, he suddenly saw something bloody lying in the ditch. It looked like a pig's head. Although Jiang was well off, he would never discard a pig's head. Mr. Zhang approached to get a better look. However, when he saw clearly what was in the ditch, he fell to the ground in fear. It was not a pig's head, it was a human head. Immediately, the police were notified and they rushed to the scene. Upon investigation, they discovered that the human head belonged to Jiang's wife, Shui Yan. Even more terrifying was that Jiang's entire family had been murdered. Jiang's family was well off in the village because he had a secret family recipe for herbal medicine. Over the years, he had earned a considerable amount of money from practicing medicine. 5 years ago, he married Yan after being introduced to her. Yan had lost both her parents at a young age, and her grandfather raised her. Therefore, after getting married, Yan brought her grandfather to live with them. Jiang and Yan had a daughter together. When the incident happened, Yan's 9-year-old younger brother was also staying at Jiang's house for summer vacation. Tragically, he too met a grim fate with Jiang's family. After the autopsy, the police found that Yan had about 4 to 5 slash wounds on her head. Her daughter and younger brother were killed in the bedroom. In the adjacent heating room, the police also found the body of Yan's grandfather. Typically, if Jiang had enemies outside, they would only kill him. Why kill the elderly and children too? Clearly, the perpetrator harbored a significant grudge against Jiang's family. But what puzzled the police was that only Yan's head was severed in this case. Thus, it was more likely that the perpetrator had a vendetta against Yan. As the police prepared to widen their investigation, a scream rang out in the village. When they arrived, they found that Yan's brother, Dong An, and his 2 daughters had also been killed. This small town had never seen such a horrific massacre. The police immediately reported to the city authorities. Upon hearing about the massacre of 2 families with a total of 8 victims, due to the severity of the case, they quickly formed a special task force to investigate. After analysis, the experts believed the perpetrator was not a habitual criminal because many footprints were left at the scene. Additionally, they determined this was a crime committed by someone familiar because when the perpetrator entered the rooms, he immediately killed everyone without hesitation. Notably, the spot where Yan's grandfather lay was very concealed, yet the perpetrator found it easily. This indicated that he was very familiar with the house. After examining the scene, the police also found no property stolen, and the female victims were not sexually assaulted. This essentially ruled out robbery or rape as the perpetrator's motives. It seemed that he killed to exact revenge. While the police were preoccupied with the question of whom Yan's siblings could have hurt to provoke such a massacre, a villager reported a clue to the investigation team. The person said that the killer might be Yan's ex-boyfriend, named Wang Sheng. According to the villager, Sheng and Yan grew up together. Since Yan lost her parents at a young age, she was often bullied by others. Whenever Sheng saw this, he always protected her. Therefore, their relationship was very close. Yan even said that when she grew up, she would marry Sheng. However, reality was harsh. Sheng's family was not well off, and Yan's family was also struggling. When Yan reached marriageable age, she no longer wanted to marry Sheng. If she married him, she would have to live in poverty, and her grandfather would have no one to take care of him. Thus, Yan secretly considered other suitors. When someone introduced Jiang to her, Yan agreed immediately. When Sheng heard the news, he was furious and swore revenge. However, the police found the villagers' report unreasonable, as Yan and Jiang had been married for 5 years and had a 3-year-old child together. If Sheng wanted to take revenge by killing them, he wouldn't have waited until now. Moreover, even if he did resort to murder, he
phải
wouldn't
giết
have
cả gia
needed to
đình
kill
Giang như vậy.
Zhang's entire family.
Mặc dù có một số
Although
điều
there
không
were
thể
some
hiểu được,
inexplicable aspects, they still sought Sheng for questioning. Sheng stated that although he was angry about being abandoned by Yan, he never thought of killing anyone. After all these years, Sheng had his own family and would never do something so foolish. Additionally, at the time of the incident, he was at home playing chess with friends. After verification, the police confirmed Sheng's alibi, and the footprints at the scene did not match his. Therefore, Sheng was ruled out as a suspect. So who could the perpetrator be? Some villagers suggested that Jiang had a hot temper and often beat his wife, even breaking her bones once. When Yan's two brothers heard this, they came and beat Jiang, taking their sister back home. Afterwards, the couple separated. But during the settlement process, Jiang cheated and gained custody of their daughter, while not giving Yan any money. Because of this, Yan's brothers were very resentful of him and threatened to kill Jiang one day. While this situation seemed plausible, there were still major issues. Even if Yan's brothers came for revenge, they wouldn't have killed the two children, as they were their nieces. Nevertheless, the police proceeded to investigate the brothers. However, what they didn't expect was that a few days earlier, Jiang's younger brother had gotten into a fight and was hospitalized. Clearly, he had no time to commit the crime, so the case was back to square one. At this point, Jiang's ex-wife, Jin Luan, provided a crucial clue to the police. She said the perpetrator might be Qin Ming. So who was Ming? According to Luan, Ming was Jiang's neighbor. The two families were separated by just a wall. Jiang often traveled for work several months a year, leaving Yan alone at home. Yan frequently chatted with Ming's wife Tianrong. Rong was a simple rural woman and often talked about their family life with Yan. However, Yan, upon learning about Ming, had ulterior motives. She often tried to get close to Ming when he was home alone. Ming wasn't foolish. He quickly realized her intentions. He had always fantasized about Yan with her beauty, and now she came to him. They soon started a relationship. After some time, rumors about the affair spread through the small village. Only Jiang, who was far away, remained unaware. Once, when Jiang's brother visited, a neighbor told him about the affair. He was furious but couldn't confront them, so he waited for Jiang to return and informed him. Jiang didn't believe it until one day he came home and caught them in bed. Enraged, Jiang ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and wanted to attack Ming. Seeing this, Ming, terrified, grabbed his clothes and ran home, locking the door despite Jiang's shouts. Such a big incident naturally drew the villagers' attention, and people quickly gathered outside to watch. Jiang couldn't bear the shame and had to go back home first. That night, Jiang angrily blamed everything on Yan, beat her, and kicked her out. He said he wanted a divorce because the situation had gotten out of control and the entire village knew about it. If he didn't get a divorce, he wouldn't be able to face everyone in the future. However, Yan did not want a divorce. Moreover, not only she but her grandfather also depended on Jiang for support. If she returned to her previous single life, with the stigma of adultery and a previous marriage, she would have difficulty remarrying. Ming was already married and couldn't marry her. Even if Ming was willing to marry her, given his family's economic conditions, she couldn't avoid a hard life as a farmer, and naturally, someone who had always lived in comfort like Yan would never accept that. Therefore, she blamed Ming entirely, claiming she was coerced. Yan demanded that Jiang accompany her to the police to prove her innocence. On the day of the trial, perhaps due to his low level of knowledge and insufficient finances, Ming did not hire a lawyer and was sentenced to 5 years in prison for rape. However, due to good behavior, he was released a year early. When Ming returned, he saw his wife and child hauling sand at a construction site, and tears rolled down his cheeks. He swore to take revenge on those who had pushed him and his family into this situation. After hearing Luan's story, the police believed that Ming indeed had a motive in this case. Therefore, they immediately went to Ming's house, only to find that he had been gone for a long time. While searching the entire house, in the wood shed, the police found an axe with blood on it. Upon comparing the data, Ming's footprints and fingerprints matched those at the crime scene, Consequently, the police issued a warrant for Ming and interrogated his wife. During the interrogation, Rong revealed to the police that everything was Yan's scheme, including her husband's imprisonment. But their family had to endure this because Ming did do something to Yan, so he was not entirely innocent. But what she and her child suffered was extremely unfair. She also knew where Ming was hiding and hoped that by advising him to turn himself in, the police would disclose the hidden aspects of the case from 5 years ago to the villagers. After negotiating, Rong provided the address where Ming was staying and called him, urging him to surrender. 15 minutes later, without waiting for the police to capture him, Ming returned home and recounted the entire case to the police. On that fateful day, just a few days after Ming was released from prison, his child, who had been working long hours at the construction site, had become weak and ill. But Ming did not have enough savings to cover the hospital fees. He had to ask for help from his and his wife's parents. After his child was settled in the hospital, Ming returned home alone. On the dark and cold path, desperate thoughts filled his mind. He had no money, no education, and his youth had withered away during the years in prison. Moreover, perhaps no one in the village would dare hire someone with a criminal record and a charge of rape. Now, he was likely just a burden to his wife and child. The more he thought about it, the more he hated himself for succumbing to lust and loathed those who had pushed him and his family into this situation. A few hours after returning home, he planned and prepared everything for his revenge. He went to Jiang's house and brutally slaughtered everyone present there. Still not satisfied, he beheaded Yan and threw her head into the drain in front of the house. After completing his revenge, he felt a sense of relief. However, he also knew that this would disrupt his peaceful life. So he immediately went into hiding. With the series of crimes he committed, taking the lives of many innocent people in a brutal manner out of hatred, Ming could not escape the law. Ultimately, he received the death penalty, paying for the cruelty he had inflicted and the terror he had sown among the villagers. But even though he was no longer in this world, the victims could never come back to life. From this case, we can see that revenge never brings about a better life. Even during difficult times, when we may harbor feelings of anger and the desire for revenge, these only create more suffering and destruction. Instead of seeking revenge, we should choose other solutions and learn to forgive. Forgiveness does not mean accepting cruel actions or forgetting the harm that has occurred. Forgiveness is the process of releasing hatred and suffering.